Hello everyone, we are back with a new video and our video is about oligosaccharides. In the previous video, we have already discussed about carbohydrates. We have already discussed about carbohydrates and these oligosaccharides are basically a type of carbohydrates that we'll be taking up in this class. Previously, we have studied that carbohydrates are the hydrates, meaning H2O, of carbon. So basically, all the carbohydrates will have a basic CH2O formula, but of course, there are many exceptions that we'll be taking up. Now, these carbohydrates, as we studied in the previous video, are of three different types. These carbohydrates can be either monosaccharides or these can be oligosaccharides or these can be polysaccharides. Now, what are these terms? Monosaccharide meaning one unit of saccharide. What is a saccharide? A saccharide is a sugar. And we have also studied that this single unit of sugar can either be pyranose or it can be furanose. Now, what is a pyranose ring? A pyranose ring is a 6-carbon structure like this, and here we have a furanose ring like this. It is a 5-carbon structure. This we have already discussed in detail up till the previous lecture. In this video, we'll be studying majorly about oligosaccharides. What are oligosaccharides? Oligosaccharides are the sugars which have 2 to 10 units of sugars. These are formed up of 10 units of sugar. Polysaccharides have more than 10 units of sugars. So this means what is an oligosaccharide? An oligosaccharide is a group of carbohydrates which are made up of more than 2 to 10 units of sugars. So different oligosaccharides that we'll be studying today are sucrose, we'll be studying maltose, and we'll be studying lactose. Sucrose is the cane sugar, maltose is the malt sugar, lactose is the milk sugar. Sucrose is made up of units of glucose and fructose. Maltose is made up of units of glucose, and lactose is made up of units of galactose and glucose. Now we'll be taking up each one of these one by one. So let's start with this. The first one that we are going to study is a disaccharide. Now, what do we mean by a disaccharide? Disaccharide. As the name suggests, a disaccharide is made up of two sugars. So these two sugars can be either furanose and furanose. It can be either pyranose and pyranose, or it can be a combination of two. It can be a furanose plus a pyranose ring. So the first structure that we have to study today is sucrose. Here, sucrose. Now, as we have already discussed, a sucrose is made up of a unit of alpha glucose and beta fructose. So this is the structure of alpha glucose, this is the structure of beta fructose, and these structures we have already discussed in monosaccharides in the previous video. So I won't be going into much details. So directly we'll study this. How does an alpha glucose and a beta fructose react together to form a unit of sucrose? So what happens is that, what will happen here is that this kind of linkage, there will be a kind of linkage which is called as a condensation reaction. There will be a condensation reaction between carbon 2 of this fructose here, between the carbon 2 of this fructose and the carbon 1 of this alpha glucose. Now, what does happen here is that there is a loss of water molecule. A water molecule will be lost from here, from an OH of this side and a hydrogen of this side, minus H2O, and these two will combine together. So these two combine together like this. And here we have this another ring. These two will combine together in this way, and oxygen will form a bond between these two. This is COCH2, it remains as it is, and hydrogen, and there will be a loss of one hydrogen from here and an OH from here, and this loss of hydrogen will lead to binding between these two, and when this oxygen forms a link between these two molecules, this is called as alpha 1 2 glycosidic linkage. Now, why is this called as alpha 1 2? This is called as alpha 1 2 because carbon 1 from here will lose an OH and carbon 2 from here will lose an H, and because of this there is a loss of water molecule, and when a water molecule is lost, these two structures will combine together to form a sucrose molecule. I hope this is clear with everyone. Now here I would like to show you a better picture of this sucrose molecule. So as you can see, here we have this sucrose molecule. It is formed of alpha glucose. This is the alpha glucose. This is the beta fructose. From here, when one OH is lost, from here another H is lost. Between 1 and 2 molecule, carbon 1 of this and carbon 2 of fructose, this loss of water molecule will lead to a formation of bond between these two, and this is called as alpha 1,2 glycosidic linkage. I hope this is clear with everyone. Now, coming back to the sucrose. So here we have, let's discuss some properties of sucrose. Sucrose is called as a cane sugar because it is derived from sugar cane. This is the most common sweetener or the sugar that we find in our kitchens. This is also called as a transport sugar. What is a transport sugar? It is a kind of sugar that is circulated in the plants that can also go against gravity. It will travel from roots to the leaves and from leaves to the roots. The most important thing here is that this kind of linkage is the easiest or the most easily breakable form of a bond. Alpha 1,2 glycosidic linkage is the most commonly broken bond, which means that when sucrose is hydrolyzed, it will give rise to a unit of glucose plus a unit of fructose, alpha glucose and beta fructose. So I hope this is clear with everyone. The next structure that we are going to study is also a disaccharide, and it is called as a maltose. Now, what is maltose? Maltose is also called as the malt sugar because it is extracted from the malts. Now, malt sugar is made up of alpha glucose and alpha glucose. You can see that this is one structure of alpha glucose. This is another structure of alpha glucose. So now what happens here is that the kind of bond here, again, there will be a loss of water molecule. The loss of water molecule will take place from this carbon number 1 and carbon number 4. That is why this kind of linkage is called as alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage. Now what happens here is that an OH is lost from here and then H is lost from here, carbon number 4, and you can see only O is left here. So because of this, this molecule looks something like this. We have these glucose molecules. All the bonds remain the same except for this carbon 1 and 4. Because of the loss of water, this bond becomes something like this. This H2O is lost here like this, and only oxygen will be left. So this is the structure of maltose. When maltose is hydrolyzed, it will give us two molecules of alpha glucose. So let me give you a better picture for this. Here we have, this is the structure of maltose. This is alpha glucose. This is alpha glucose. You can see carbon 1 loses OH. Carbon 4 from another glucose loses H. So that is why this is 1,4 linkage, alpha 1,4 linkage. Loss of water will lead to the formation of an oxygen bond here like this. At rest, all the structure remains the same. So when this water molecule is lost, these two glucose will combine together to form the maltose molecule. Okay, so the next one that we'll be studying is The next disaccharide that we'll be studying is lactose. Now, what is lactose? Lactose is called as the lact or the milk sugar. This is the most common form of sugar that we find in milk. In human milk, there is around 5 to 8% of lactose, whereas in the milk of other mammals, there is about 4 to 6%, 4 to 6% of lactose. The lactose molecule will form a kind of bonding which is called as beta 1,4 glycosidic linkage. Now, why is this called beta linkage? This is called as beta linkage because one one hydrogen will be lost from one hydrogen will be lost from here from a beta position, whereas another H will be lost from here from an alpha position. So this kind of bond will look something like this. This kind of bond looks something like this. We have hydrogen and oxygen and hydrogen, and all of the structure remains the same. Rest all of the structure remains the same. So when there is loss of a water molecule from the beta position of carbon 1 of galactose and carbon 4 of glucose in the molecule, then this kind of dehydration or condensation reaction will lead to a formation of this structure which is called as lactose. So when we break down lactose, when there is hydrolysis of lactose, we'll get two units of one of beta galactose and another of beta glucose. Now, lactose is also called as the milk sugar, as we know that, and upon hydrolysis, it will give galactose and glucose. And I would like to show you a picture for this. How does this molecule of lactose look like? So here we have, this is the galactose and this is glucose, beta galactose and beta glucose. You can see that they have the same structure, C6H12O6, C6H12O6. These two are stereoisomers of each other. Stereoisomerism also I have explained in the last video, so you can just check out that video for what stereoisomers are. So this beta galactose and beta glucose will form a condensation reaction. Will be a loss of water or dehydration. Because of that, this lactose will bind in the form of a bond which is called as beta 1,4 glycosidic linkage, and there will be a loss of water in this reaction. Now, this is all about the disaccharides or the oligosaccharides. If there is some topic that you need more explanation of, you can let us know. In the next video, we'll be discussing the last part of carbohydrates, that is the polysaccharides. Thanks for watching.